Hey, how's everybody doing? We're gonna draw a milkshake parfait type drink today, and you can put whatever you want on this. I'm gonna demonstrate some different ways that you could do it. This is just one example. So let's just dive right into it. I'll bring this example out again so you can see, but let's get started. One of the things that I wanted to show you as we start, you may want to do a squared off jar like I did in my example starting out, or you might want to do a rounded cup. If you wanted to do a rounded cup, there's a couple things you need to know real quick. It's that as you look at a cup, the bottom of the cup has a curve to it, and the top of the cup has a curve to it. And those two curves are the same. So let me see if I can draw two curves that are exactly the same. It takes a little bit of effort. Alright, coming across here and curving up just a little bit. Now, if I connect these two, you can see that it makes a fairly decent drawing of a cup. You would be so surprised how easy it is to mess this up. But let me go over a couple of the common mistakes in drawing a cup that happen. Now, I've just drawn the front of the cup because we're going to put things here that block the back. If you are looking at a cup and you draw the top of it with a curve and then you draw the bottom of it flat, that always looks off. I know it feels right to draw the bottom flat because it lies flat against the table and you're used to seeing it as a flat line, and you're used to seeing the top as a curve because you tilt it towards yourself as you drink. But let me show you something. The only time the bottom of the glass is flat is when the top of the glass is also flat from your point of view. As you tilt it towards you, you see, you get a downward curve on the front and a matching downward curve on the bottom. So another problem that could possibly happen as you draw a cup is you have a downward curve on the front, on the top that is, and then you have too much of a curve on the bottom and they mismatch. Then it doesn't look like a proper cup. It's got sort of a weird curvature to it. So you just want to make sure that the curves match, and when in doubt, make them almost flat, but just a little bit curved, and that can help you quite a bit. So, with all that said, let's get started drawing a drink, some sort of drink. Now this is up to you what you want to draw. I'm going to go ahead and say, if you can imagine it, you can draw it in the form of a drink. So we're going to start off the cup here and make sure that the curves match on the top and bottom. Alright, I'm not going to worry about this too much because we're going to draw some things sort of like coming over the rim of the cup and going down the side. So if your curve is off a little bit, you can cover it up that way. It's no big deal. So let's say that we wanted to put whipped cream on top of this cup. You might want to start by using S-curve type lines that usually go in the same general direction as they travel up. Now the complexity of these curves is up to you. You can get really crazy with it as long as you sort of come to an S-curve at the edge like that, and then you follow up the next one by again sweeping up towards that point and creating an edge. So I'm going to get a little bit more complicated with this, just to have fun. But let me also show you what you could do if you'd like to keep the complexity of this to a minimum. That'll just be in 1 minute. Okay, so if you wanted to keep it less complicated, what you can do is just use a bunch of S-curves that are all the same direction. So let me demonstrate that for you on a blank piece of paper. Let's say that the rim of your glass is right here. Okay. And you've got your whipped cream coming up. You want to do an S-curve, and then you can start at the top and S-curve back down. And you can always leave space for things, like in our first example we've got raspberries here. That's the simple way to do it. I might add one more curve right up here and then have the straw coming out the top. Bingo. So let's continue with our drawing here. So I'm going to pepper some things across the top of this, maybe like nuts that have been sprinkled on here. You could do sprinkles, anything you want to keep it colorful. You know, I might go back in here and make these into sprinkles later just to add some fun color to this drawing. You can also have straws sticking out. They don't have to have a place in the whipped cream that you've put on top. You could just have them coming out from the back, from behind. I'm going to add another straw in this direction, and just for fun, because this is a drawing and we're trying to make it as interesting as possible, I'm going to add stripes to this straw so that we have two forms that are repeated, the two straws, but they change. This one's striped and this one's not. Alright, next let's have maybe a little bit of whatever sauce or syrup is inside this drink spilling over the side just a little bit here. This is where I said if your curve is a little bit different, don't worry about it, because you can just bring that up and over. Good. Next, I think I'd like to do some coming down this way. And it's going to stick out at the edge and you'll see its profile, so I'm going to erase the side of the cup right there. Good. Alright, so we're almost ready to start coloring. I think it would be fun to do a line of a different color inside the bottom of this cup. Another thing that you could do, as you see in this example, is add some textured lines to have it look like granola or you know, something crunchy down at the bottom of your cup, whatever you'd like to do. Here I did a sort of raspberry sauce or maybe strawberry sauce and put the raspberries on top with a red and white striped straw. So this one I'm going to do slightly differently. I think I'm going to make chocolate syrup on this side, but I'm going to leave a stripe down the middle of each place where it's dripping down, and that is going to allow me to make some highlights where the light is bouncing off of that chocolate syrup. So don't fill the whole thing in right away with brown, because you might be able to include some highlights that help help the viewer tell what texture this stuff is that they're looking at. Alright, let's leave it at that for now, and this I think will be chocolate sauce coming over here as well. Let's fill most of this in with color. Good. Alright, that looks fun. Next, I think we're going to add some color graduation. Graduation as in, we've got a really dark color down here where the flavor of one thing meets another. So we've got a dark brown right here, and then, this is actually a medium brown. If you have it, you can use it. Otherwise, you can use your regular brown. And hopefully you have a peach color. This brown is going to work up into this peach color and change as it goes down through the drink. So let's just bring the peach color all the way up to the brown color, and then we'll mix the two together to try to get a transition from one color to another. Alright, next. That was the dark brown. We're going to just add a little bit of that medium brown in here to switch things up and help ease the transition into that third color. You can use colored pencils for this or whatever you might have on hand. Alright, great. For the bottom area of this drink, I'm going to just add a little bit more of that peach color as well, so that you can see the two liquids coming together. Alright, good. Now for the bottom of this cup, I'd like to add a shadow. And the shadow is going to start out fairly dark, and we will add some lines on the bottom that help this look like a glass. So if you want to go along the bottom and just add this sort of a texture, it just helps it look like it has a little bit of a glass, that glass texture that's around the bottom of the rim of a glass. And we're going to add a little bit of a shadow too. The shadow comes away and to, the lower right of the paper. If you have a gray, this would be a great time to break out that gray and add a little bit of gray onto the end of the shadow. There you go. Alright. Now, it's important, if you're adding fruit or candy or something onto the top of your drink, to remember that the light is coming from the left, and therefore the right side is in shadow. So you see how a lot of the highlights in the raspberries are on the left side, and the right side is shaded in with solid color. Anything you put onto this drink should have the same kind of principle at work there. So I'm going to take this light brown that I was using earlier and just brush a little bit of it on this side of the drink to show that this side is in shadow. I think I'm also going to use a little extra peach on this side of the drink to continue that same look. There we go. Alright. I think it should come all the way to the middle. Looking good. Next. I don't want to keep this whole drawing looking the same. If it's all brown, it might get a little boring. So I'm going to say that maybe this is strawberry whipped cream. So I'm going to take some pink and go along every place that I think is a deeper part of the whipped cream instead of the ridges. The ridges are the places where it peaks up. But I want to go along the deeper places and fill it in with pink. Alright, that looks great. Next, let's get this color hopping even further with some blue stripes on this straw. Have to be very careful because this ink likes to spread out quite a bit and make blobs instead of accurate shapes. Alright, now the top is blue, but since I have two darker blues, I'm going to stick a darker blue in there to show that it's inside the straw. Let's make the other straw red for fun, why not? There we go. Alright, we're getting there. Let's just add a couple more details. I'm going to choose a couple different colors for the sprinkles that we're going to put on top. Let's go with green, yellow, blue, and red. Now if I colored over any of these dots before with pink, I'm going to shade them in red because pink and red work well together. If you try to cover pink with green, you'll end up with something that looks very black, and you don't want that. Alright, let's add some yellow ones in there. And some light blue ones. And you know what? You can put some on the ground as well as if they fell off. There we go. I think we're going to call this drawing done, and I hope you guys have fun doing this. Use whatever colors, shapes, and patterns you want to create your drink, and I hope you have fun. Alright, see you guys next time.